Well, let me put it this way. Do you accept the premise that we need to compete with them, that we need that international capital to build the apartments we need?
I think that's the problem, is that this is market fundamentalism, this is trickle-down economics, and all we have to do is to create the most positive environment possible for these investors to come in and to resolve our housing crisis. I mean, that is kind of what the government has been doing for the past 10 years. Money has been thrown at big landlords, at private developers in terms of HAP, in terms of Croí Cónaithe, in terms of the waiver of various development levies, and so on. There's been a lot of benefits given to investment trusts, etc., right? Okay, they can make more money somewhere else, so they're making the decision to make more money somewhere else. I don't think the answer for that is, okay, we'll make renters pay even more. We'll make more people homeless. I think the answer is to say that this reliance on trying to incentivize the market to work does not work. It's not working for the majority. It's working for those who are at the very top. And instead, we need to say that the state needs a state construction company. We need to build social and affordable housing. So let's not spend the money and invest the money and give the money to developers and then hope that we get some of it back and that the properties come down. Let's just invest in building social and affordable housing. Let's deal with the supply issue ourselves. That's the answer.
Can we afford to do that?
We can. Micheál Martin was in the Dáil today talking about how...
We need about 25 billion.
25 billion. Sure, that's about the surplus what we had last year when you include the Apple tax. We do have the money. This is an investment.
But we need that next year again.
No, we don't need it next year again. We don't. That's the amount that we need to close the gap, right? That's the amount we need. And the fact that
we don't need a one-off investment of 25 billion.
If we would do 25 billion over the next 5 years, that would have a huge impact in terms of it dealing with the housing crisis. Yes, it would.
No, with a growing population, Paul. I mean, it's almost it's capital spending, but it is the effect. It's almost current spending and how you need to rely in terms of the mathematics. But you have to keep going back and building more houses.
But what you have is a return. So if you had a universal access to public housing and people are paying a percentage of their income to access this public housing, we're getting a return that is more than paying for itself, right? And then we have a fund to come back to and to keep investing in housing. Because these landlords...
what's the income there in that model?
The income is the rent. Is the rent. Why do you think the REITs are investing? They're getting a rent. They're making money. You're making the point correctly. They're making a profit. Yeah. But the state could instead invest the massive surplus that we have to resolve the housing crisis and to have an income, which then in turn can be put back into housing.
And how much rent are you going to be charging people in order to fund this kind of 25 billion euro annual spending spree?
You charge people a differential rent. You charge people a rent based on their income. So 10% in some counties, as it currently is, 15% in others. That we've done the maths. It more than pays for itself, and then you're investing again. It's rejecting the idea that the market has to deliver. The other point I just make, though, is, look, you have this illusion out there that it's a terrible market for landlords, they're all fleeing and so on. The RGB came out just recently to make the point we have more tenancies than ever before in this country, we have more landlords than ever before in this country. The RGB made the point that the rate of landlords leaving the market is the lowest ever since the RTB started making records. And why? Well, sure, because they've doubled. In the past 10 years, landlords are doing quite well for themselves, including the institutional landlords. The problem is they want to do even better, and the government wants to
I'm not going